We'll see. December, week 12, week 13. Debo knew exactly when that game was. That was something that we did not touch on. That Zach Gelb clip, Debo Samuel knew exactly when the Niners were playing Philadelphia. Usually players say, yeah, I think we play them this year. What week is it? They'll ask her, Pierre, what week do we play them? Debo knew exactly when the Niners were playing Philadelphia. You don't think they got that game circled?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it didn't even feel like they could give their best shot. They had to run the ball, and the second half was embarrassing to watch.
Look, okay, I want you to be sincere with me, all right? I want you to be sincere with me. We're all, obviously stuck in the Bay Area bubble, and they get credit for taking the quarterback out.
They do.
All right? They get credit for that. Yep. I'm not trying to diminish or dilute their accomplishments, but we were all robbed of seeing the game. We wanted to see it play out. Now, I still believe the Eagles were the favored team, should have been the favored team. They had the better quarterback, a little more established, had a better year, clearly, than almost every other player on the planet not named Pat Mahomes. And they had a top-to-bottom stacked team. But is it like the worst thing in the world to be like, dude, our starting quarterback got knocked out?
Yeah, but you know what?
I'm not saying that like that. I'm not trying to be sour grapes. I'm just saying, like, from the player's perspective, I can understand, be like, God, we could have lost the left tackle, and it would have been, we would have been able to function a little better.
You know what? That's part of the game, though.
It is. I know.
And their defensive
that's the hard part to swallow.
And here's the part.
Here's
the part that nobody's talking about. Philadelphia led the league in sacks.
Yeah. And that guy had a great year.
Hassan Reddick had an amazing year, 17 sacks coming off the edge. Their D-line was 8-9 deep. When their defensive line warmed up in front of us before the game, what did I say, Shask? I said, that is a massive defensive line.
Huge.
And we saw this in 2019 with the 49ers ourselves. When they didn't have to blitz, they could just bring pressure with the front four. It makes everything easier.
Yeah.
Philadelphia they do not have to blitz.
No.
And they didn't. And they knocked Purdy out of the game, which is a question we had. Can Purdy hold up?
Yeah.
With this stature, with this body, with this frame? Can he withstand hits? We see that happen at times where a defensive lineman goes for the ball and the elbow goes back funny. Dude needed Tommy John.
I mean, unreal.
So as much as we say, we didn't have our Niners quarterbacks drop like flies under Kyle Shanahan.
Undeniable.
And the Eagles get credit for knocking our quarterback. That's part of football. Back in the 90s, when football was really rough in the 80s, the Philadelphia Eagles with Reggie White and Clyde Simmons and Seth Joyner and Jerome Brown in the middle, or you had the New York Giants with Lawrence Taylor, Carl Banks, Harry Carson, Pepper Johnson, Jim Burt, Leonard Marshall. What did they try to do? They tried to knock the quarterback out the game.
Of course.
They took pride in that. The Niners took pride in that with their defensive fronts, which are led by Charles Haley. That's part of football. That is part of football. So, as much as we make excuses, they knocked our quarterback. That's part of football. Well, they knocked their quarterback out, and they advantaged Philadelphia.
But I'm saying from the player perspective, we could say it's sour grapes and crying. But I do understand the frustration just in general of like, dude, our starting quarterback got knocked out.
Right.
I do get it, and I think that when I'm looking at it from just the Niner player perspective, they did a lot of talking that you and I both didn't love. In regard, just like at that point, keep it internal. Yep. Keep it to yourself. Like you could be frustrated amongst each other. When you voice it out loud, you give it a megaphone. What do you think people are going to do? They're going to run with it, right? Yep. What do you think Philadelphia's done with my soundbite? They've ran with it, right?
Yep.
So from like Debo's perspective, I get where he's coming from, but you said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
The other part of this is, and I think this is a real conversation, I think that these guys in general, whether we're talking about defense, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, whether we're talking about Juszczyk, Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, I think the entire organization and the entire team is so sick and tired of talking about quarterbacks. The same way the fan base is, I think these players are so sensitive and so exhausted with that question. And the hard part is, it's the most important question on the team.
Yep.
And so you're going to keep getting pounded with it. And I know the fans at times can get exhausted. I am sure that the media is tired of talking about it to a degree. And I can only imagine what these players are thinking, because when they get peppered about quarterback, what do you think's going through their mind?
They're like, we need a damn quarterback because that's holding us back. That has essentially held back the 49ers from winning the Super Bowl for the first time since 94-95. It really has, the quarterback spot. And that's what's frustrating to me, where they have to answer the questions, And I look at Kyle Shanahan, and look, Shanahan is a damn good coach. I've come a long way with Kyle Shanahan. But my biggest problem with Shanahan, and it's the number one problem that keeps holding this team back, can you find your guy? Is it really Brock Purdy? Is it Trey Lance? Is it Sam Darnold? The fact that we're going into year 7, we can talk about Farhan going into this is year 5 for him. Next year will be year 6, and we still don't really know what his plan is. Got a bunch of players on player options, and Sam Lubman explaining the player options during the break. You know, get the player options, you get the comp picks, and blah, 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 blah. Nobody cares. Go get a star, Farhan. 49ers still can't find a quarterback. We still don't know who the quarterback is in year 7. And the fact is, the guy you made a bold move for, Trey Lance, rumors about him being third string, second string, may not play, may get traded. That's on Kyle Shanahan to figure it out. And I think quietly, Debo, George Kittle, Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, that defense led by Fred Warner Jr., they know that. They know that. Hey, Kyle, just settle on a guy. Let's go.
Is the Brock Purdy... I'm very curious on the Brock Purdy thing because I see all angles from people. Like, let's say hypothetically, all right? Like, it feels like to me a lot of people, myself included, in the back of our heads have a little reservation on Brock Purdy as a long-term solution. And I don't think that's a knock on Brock.
It's like, not a knock on Purdy.
What he did was awesome, and he was amazing this year. But, like, when you're that small and you get hurt, like, I get it. Like, I understand being skeptical, right?
Yep.
Like, I think Kyler Murray, if we throw the attitude to the side, a lot of people are still like, I don't know about staying healthy. Now, Brock's bigger than Kyler Murray, but the same questions are going to be there.
Yeah.
If Trey Lance... I'm asking you, Bonte, if Trey Lance had done exactly what Brock Purdy had done the year prior, and he got hurt in the NFC Championship game with a very serious injury and was coming into this year, how would your opinion of the quarterback position change?
I feel a lot better about it.
Why?
Because I know that Trey Lance was the guy. They made the right pick. They developed him. He made the leap. The torch was passed from Jimmy G to Trey Lance, and it's like, okay, Trey got hurt in the NFC Championship game. But, boy, we see that they picked the right guy. The stature, the mobility. But then again, he's been hurt now. So now I have questions about his durability.
Well, yeah, I would have questions about his health.
You know?
But the other part is this, is that I would also say, like, I think it would be fair to also be like, yeah, it's a small sample size. And we saw that with Kaepernick, where he was really, really, really good for 1 year. And then, you know, I thought he had a better 2013 than people remember. But people are gonna say it wasn't as good. And I get that. But wouldn't you say, like, you got to do it again?
Well, a lot of people, Kaepernick's second year was fine. People forget that the Niners were a run-first team. So Russell Wilson and Kaepernick had so many games where they didn't throw for 200 yards, and everybody was freaking out. A lot of those games were over by the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Like 2013, Niners were beating some people down. You know, they were beating people down to where it's like, all right, let's sit on the ball. And that's, you look at Harbaugh in Michigan. What does he do? Takes the air out of the football, and he runs the ball down your throat. Shanahan's got the same type of mindset. He's going to run that ball. That whole quarterback playmaker thing, Javier Vega, who we know, he used to blog for the 49ers or do podcasts for the Niners. He sent down something yesterday. I caught
What's
it.
That?
Playmakers. Shanahan was talking about the NFC divisional round game against Minnesota, and he said, I noticed our defense was getting after Kirk Cousins, and Minnesota was not going to be able to do anything against our defense. So what did I do? I ran the ball 45 times. Now, we didn't have a carry over 12 yards, but we're able to run that clock, run the football, and control the game. And I love that. NFC Championship game. Wow, Green Bay can't stop the run.
Yeah.
So why stop running the football? It's kind of what, it's, you know, so the whole thing would cap that philosophy of running the football or whatnot. But when it comes back to Trey Lance, if Trey Lance had done it, we'd feel a lot better because it would have been throughout the duration of the season. Right?
Okay, I was saying like 2021, let's say, we're going back. Jimmy plays 8 games, 9 games, and then Trey comes in at the end and they go on a run.
We feel good because that was a high prize draft pick, and we're like,
that's true.
This is why you draft him number 3 overall.
But wouldn't you still have the same reservations regarding health? And wouldn't you have the same reservations regarding, you got to do it again for a longer period of time?
But you know the future is bright because it's like we invested in this guy. The Niners really didn't invest in Brock Purdy. They spent the last pick of the draft on Brock Purdy. Who's Mr. Irrelevant?
Well, at this point, does it even matter?
Not now. But will matter in the future. What's his contract look like?
Well, that there's no doubt.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
and from a team building standpoint, do you really want to give up Trey like that? Because you gave up that haul for Miami, and Miami was able to do some things to better their football team to where they're a factor now. So I don't know, man. I don't know. You just look at Brock Purdy. He's a small guy. And you saw the Dallas Cowboys, the speed of the game, they were on Brock Purdy. Now, Brock Purdy made great throws down the stretch there to continue to extend some drives, get some first downs, and bleed that clock. But the reservation is he's a small dude. And when he plays some faster defense, it's like, oh, can't get away with some of the things you got away with the first 4 weeks of his tenure at quarterback.
Yeah, I think you'd have similar question marks if Trey had done the same exact thing in a 9-game period that Brock Purdy. I think you would, because I think a lot of people would say, hey, it's great. It's amazing. You've been hurt a lot, because he did. He hurt his finger. He got blasted at the goal line, and then, obviously getting hurt at the end of the year the way Brock did. Like, if that's what would have happened, I think a lot of people you get hurt a lot, so can you stay healthy?
Yeah, I don't know.
Can you do what you did again?
See, because the mindset is, you're drafting him in the top 5.
So you automatically elevated him because of pedigree of draft
pick. He's in the top 5, and you're like, okay, we invested our future into this guy. And mind you saw some flashes in 2021 when he won a game against the Houston Texans with a good second half that keep the Niners season alive. They keep their season alive, and you're like, okay, I know that's in the back pocket. He came in for Jimmy again. He played well. This is why they invested in him. We feel good about his frame. Okay. We feel good about everything. I think the reason is Brock kind of came out of nowhere. Brock came out of nowhere. He was an afterthought coming out of training camp. Let's be real. He was an afterthought.
There's just so much. I don't know, man. I worry about his his arm. I want to see what his arm looks like. Everybody's just assuming he's going to be fine, and he's going to hit the ground running, and he's going to be ready to go. I think they should take it nice and slow. I mean, not that I'm some doctor. If you love the guy and you're thinking long term, what are a couple of weeks on the front end to get him right?
Well, here's the other thing. Because I hear that, but starting off slow the last 2 seasons has cost you home field advantage in the playoffs. And you've had to go on the road for back-to-back NFC championship games, and that's not an easy task.
It isn't, but do you think that that's the reason that they lost both those games? Not that it's not an uphill climb. I freely acknowledge that.
No.
I don't think that's the reason that they lost.
I feel a hell of a lot better if Philadelphia's coming out here to the West Coast.
That I agree with.
I feel a lot better with the Rams coming to Levi Stadium to where they get punked left and right. I feel a lot better about that.
Okay.
Playoff games are hard to win because think about all the travel they had to do. You think about the traveling they had to do or the extra games they have to play the wild card game. You play Seattle week 1, that takes a little carnage out of you, right? Takes something out of you. Then you got to play Dallas. That Dallas game was a physical football game. Mm-hmm. You had to play it on a Sunday, basically mid-afternoon, early evening type of day. Philadelphia had the extra day of rest, and they were at home.
Yeah.
And they were rested, feeling good about themselves. You think about the year before with Jimmy Garoppolo. You have to play in Dallas. You fly back home, then you got to go to Green Bay on a Saturday. Another short week and playing basically 0-degree weather.
Yeah.
And then you got to fly back while your quarterback's beat up. Everybody's beat up. Deebo Samuel's hanging out for dear life. Trent Williams bust his ankle. Then you get to the NFC Championship game. Trent Williams could barely block. Deebo Samuel's compromised. So it takes a lot of cardio. So starting off slow has cost you. It's cost you in the health department. It's made you put extra miles on your body. And that's why getting off to a slow start this year, it's like, again. You have to stop fighting an uphill battle here in the NFL. You got to come out hot. Like Dumas was in here yesterday talking about the Warriors. Like, they don't get off to a hot start. Things are going to spiral kind of out of control. Same thing with the 49ers. They have to start off hot this year.
That I agree with. I just want to get back to this because I think this is an interesting conversation. Draft status and stature are your 2 big reservations regarding Brock Purdy.
No. Not mine.
Okay. What are they?
The draft stuff is over with.
Okay.
We saw Purdy perform on the field. Purdy was fine. I just, he got hurt, and now there's more tape on him. What does it look like?
See,
was it more fluky? It was.
I don't know about fluky. I don't like saying professional.
Well, I don't want to say fluky. All right,
things.
so
but I hear you.
I don't know. I just don't know. Coming off that injury, where's her arm going to be? Is he going to be better? And then, if he does perform well, you're going to have to pay this guy. Now's the time. If you're Kyle Shanahan, doesn't it feel like now, this year, has to be the deciding factor on where we go at the quarterback spot? It's like whoever wins the job this year is going to be the Niners quarterback for the next couple years, right?
I've said that for like 3 years, though.
Well,
you know what I mean? I know.